Hey guys, today I wanted to do a video that's kind of a little bit different. So as you guys know, I'm really into vintage Breyers. I love looking for them, I love collecting them, I love seeing all the different variations that they had back in the day. So I decided to do a video today about my best vintage finds in antique stores and flea markets. So I'm not counting anything that I bought from Breyerfest or got a good deal on eBay. This is purely models that I've found out in the wild over the years. If you've hunted for Breyers at flea markets and antique stores, you know that it's not necessarily the most easy task, because a lot of times when I find things, they're either A, painfully common, or B, really overpriced. And a lot of times they're both, actually. The seller will look at me and go, "This is a Breyer. They're the best horses they've ever made. It's very hard to find. They're extremely collectible." And I just say, "Thank you," and I move on because they have no idea what they are talking about. But every once in a while, I do luck out. So first is my glossy charcoal Mustang. You might remember him from one of my haul videos. He was actually in the same lot that I got double chin. He is a horse that I was after for many years, but just never really came upon until I found this guy at an antique store. So he was made from 1961 to 1970. He's not in perfect condition. He does have some rubs and some scuffs. I only paid $20 for him. In this condition, I would say he's worth around $50 to $60. And from that same lot, I also got this wonderful Palomino Mayor who's in really beautiful condition, actually. She really doesn't have much in the rub department, just a few shiny marks. She has her blue ribbon sticker. She has the small blue ribbon sticker, which dates her between 1966 to 1968, and is kind of cool because it's just in a really unusual place on her head instead of usually on the shoulder. So again, I paid $20 for her. She's probably worth, I'd say, between $40 and $50 or so. She's not super rare, but she's in nice shape, and she does have the full blue ribbon sticker in a really unique place. Okay, you know what? I originally wasn't gonna include him, but I can't not. Double Chin, my beautiful baby son boy, is not technically a Breyer. He's a knockoff, and he's so beautifully strange. Look at those delectable neck folds. Absolutely incredible. He is truly a sight to behold. He must have been exposed to some very scary temperatures in order to disfigure his neck that much, but he is a prized model in my collection, even though he's probably worth a whopping $2, but it's fine. He is absolutely priceless to me. Now we're gonna go to something smaller. This is a Dapple Gray G1 American Saddlebred. She was made only from 1975 to 1976 in the Wild Splatter Dapple Gray pattern. She's actually extremely impressive just for her small size. It's neat to see this pattern on such a small horse. I paid a whopping $4 for her, and she's probably worth about 20 or so in her condition. Next up is my wood grain Shetland. As you guys know, I love my ponies, and I especially love Hess's old Shetland pony. She was made from 1960 to 1964, and she's one of the more uncommon of the wood grain models. Luckily, I got her for a whopping $30. She's probably worth around $60 to $75. She's in really beautiful shape for her age. I was wicked psyched to find her. She actually shows pretty decently well for me. I believe she has a championship under her belt, and she has a few Nan cards, so that's really awesome. To continue on the wood grain kick, I also have my wonderful wood grain Clydesdale Stallion. This is another one of my favorite Hess molds, and I was so excited to get one of these guys. He is the earliest no muscle version. If you didn't know, in 1962, Breyer actually retooled this mold. It's a bit hard to see, but if you're familiar with the mold, you'll know that he's usually very muscly. So production began on this guy in 1959, and it went through 1964. This guy was made from 1959 to 1961 because he's the no muscle version before the mold was retooled to add more muscle detail. The best part is he only cost me $40, and I'd put his value at around $100. And on that note, more Clydesdale Stallions! This is my Glossy Light Dapple Gray guy. He is the muscled version. This guy was made from 1962 to 1966. He's another model that I've wanted for a really long time, so I found him sitting in an antique store. Unfortunately, he was just way too expensive, but kept an eye on him, and eventually he went on sale for a whopping $27, and his value I'd put around $80 to $100. And this guy is the Classics Gray Bucking Bronco, who was actually made before the Classics line even existed, so for a while he was actually known as a traditional model. He was made from 1961 to 1967. He also has his small blue ribbon sticker, which means he was produced at the end of his run in 1966 or 1967. He was only $10. I'd put his value at around $30 to $40. This deal is more of a combined deal. I got this absolutely fabulous family Arabian set in Appaloosa. They're in literally drop-dead mint condition. They're not the most rare models out there. Seeing models this old in this great a shape is extremely hard to find. They literally look like they just walked off the factory line yesterday. The cool thing about the Stallion is he has only the partial Breyer mold stamp, which means he is the absolute earliest they ever made. He's probably from the late 1950s to maybe 1960 at the absolute latest. And the mare and the foal were probably produced shortly after him, and they just have this beautifully dotted spotted pattern. A lot of the ones that came later, they just don't look nearly as good. And this is my favorite part about the baby, how on this one side, spots literally just go all the way up her neck. It's so awesome, so vintage, so cool. So unfortunately, they're probably only worth around $50 for the full set. It's not like I got a wicked steal on them, but they're just common models. They're in really good condition, and they're just such a pinnacle of vintage awesomeness that I love them to death, even though they're not the rarest models out there. And now we have another itty bitty. This is a black G1 thoroughbred foal, who I got at a flea market for $2. He was only made for a couple years in 1975 and 1976. He was released with a sitting foal, which I unfortunately do not have. He is just in absolutely fabulous condition. He's actually nanned once in collectability, which is really cool. It's just really hard to find old stablemates in good condition because they were banged around a lot of them were toys. They're just really easy to lose. A lot of them didn't survive unscathed, so it's awesome to see stablemates this old that are still in this great of condition. I'd probably put his value at about $10 to $15. Now we're in the home stretch, and I'm gonna do my two best per se. They might not necessarily be the rarest models I've found, but they're probably my two favorites just in how well they've done for me at shows and the enjoyment I've gotten out of them basically. First is my Glossy Honey Bay Proud Arabian foal. Her name is Bint Al Hawa, which means daughter of the wind in Arabic. I paid $10 for her. I actually got her at the same time that I got the family Arabians, and I saw this horse and I was like, I gotta show her. She has nanned I think like 7 or 8 times now in breed and collectability. She's headed to North American Nationals in a few weeks. She has multiple championships, including an overall. She's just one of my absolute favorite show horses, and I think it's awesome that she literally just came from a flea market. I'd put her value at around $50 or so, maybe $60. She's just an awesome little horse, and I love her to death. And last but certainly not least, you might know this gal, little Fiddlefaddle. She's a G1 thoroughbred mare stablemate. She's one of the really cool semi-gloss variations that they had in some of the early stablemates. The fun story behind Fiddlefaddle. When I went to my first show in 2008, I brought like 13 horses I think, and one of them was Fiddlefaddle. She was like a complete and total afterthought. I had bought her in a bag of junk a few weeks earlier at an antique store for $2, so she got first in the thoroughbred class. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then she got overall grand champion of OF Halter at my first show. So since then, she's kind of become my little good luck charm, and I still show her. She is nanned in breeding collectability. Just has a cool story between how I got her and how she kind of proved her worth per se. Obviously, she's priceless. However, if we are going to talk current market value, I'd say 15 to 20. So that's it from me. If you guys want to share in the comments any of your favorite Breyer flea market and antique store finds, I'd love to hear them. I love getting jealous over other people's really awesome vintage finds. So for now, I gotta go continue with Breyer Fest prep, so I will see you guys soon.